Hello, 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 and welcome to the Slow Down Sunday podcast. This is Justine from House of Mahalo, and thank you very much for listening. So, when I was first deciding to do this podcast, I knew that I couldn't possibly have a podcast about crafting and junk journals and everything that's important to me without talking about all the reasons why I love junk journals so much. If you know this craft well, then hopefully you'll feel aligned with some of what I say today. And for anyone who's new to junk journals or new to crafting in general, I really hope that what I have to say today will convince you to give them a go. Essentially, this is my love letter to junk journals. There are no rules. To be honest, this list of reasons why I love junk journals so much isn't in any particular order, apart from maybe this one. I love that there are no rules when it comes to junk journals. And don't let anyone ever tell you that there are rules and guidelines you have to follow. There aren't really. You can turn practically anything you want into a junk journal. Packaging can become journal covers. Junk mail can become pockets. Scraps and trash can become embellishments. And it's completely up to you what style you want to establish within the craft as well. The choice is yours. Isn't that an incredibly freeing thought? So speaking of freedom then, that's what junk journals allow. They allow total creative freedom. It's completely up to you where you go with your junk journal, what you do with it, how you make it. How many crafts can we really say that about? Junk journals also celebrate imperfection. In Japan, they call this wabi-sabi, and I'll actually be talking to you about this next week. But when I first learned about junk journals, I was the biggest perfectionist in the world. Growing up, I was often told, don't bother if it's not perfect, or if it's not going to be perfect, don't even try. So when I discovered junk journals in my early 30s, I didn't really know what to do with myself. You know, those thoughts from childhood do stick with you. But I've now been making junk journals for the best part of 3 and a bit years. And to be honest with you, I really truly feel like they've almost completely cured me of my perfectionism. That is massive to me. That's better than any kind of therapy anyone could have ever given me. Now, the reason for it is pretty simple. Just like there are no rules with junk journals don't need to be perfect. You know, if you have wonky stitching, frayed edges, torn edges, things not quite in the right place. Junk journals celebrate that. They celebrate the imperfections when it comes to handmade items. Now, one of my favourite quotes about crafting, and one that I've actually discovered since discovering junk journals, is done is better than perfect. You'll often hear me say it a lot in my videos, and I'll often mutter it to myself a lot. It's become a kind of mantra, and it was junk journals that helped me to A, find that quote, and B, really honestly believe that quote. Making junk journals and crafting in general also help us practice mindfulness. As a full-time content creator and business owner, I spend well over 8 hours in front of my laptop most days of the week. But when I'm making my junk journals, when I'm crafting away, making the videos for you all, or just crafting for myself, I can completely unplug from technology for several hours, and I get totally lost in what I'm doing. I can forget everything else that's going on in the world around me, and I can simply focus on the thing that I'm making and what I'm doing in the moment. And that's what junk journals and crafting help with. They help us practice mindfulness. They help us be in the moment. In a way, it's kind of like crafting therapy. Junk journals are one of a kind. Now, I've never made the same junk journal twice. That's not intentional. It's just because of the type of craft that it is. Even if you use the same base materials to make different journals, you can change them up with different themes, different papers, different colours, different fabrics, different book pages, different laces. I could go on, but I won't. And when you own a junk journal that someone else has made, it's really a surprise with every turn of the page as to what you're going to get. That's the whole beauty of junk journals. And when you make them yourself, you'll probably have an idea in your head when you start the project, how you want it to look like, what you want it to be like. Now, it won't always turn out the way that you think it will, but this is a good thing. Junk journals celebrate individuality and uniqueness, and they celebrate all those imperfections that come with handmade items. And all of that can only be a good thing. Junk journals also benefit the planet and environment. Now, junk journals in their basic form are a kind of upcycling project. You know, if we make a junk journal cover from an envelope or a piece of packaging that we were originally going to throw away or recycle, then we're upcycling something. Now, I'll probably have an episode all about the benefits of upcycling later, but in a nutshell, junk journals benefit the planet and environment by helping us to reduce waste that would otherwise go to landfill, and they enable us to give old and unloved items a new life. Speaking of which, junk journals also allow us to celebrate and honour history. We can bring history to life through the stories we tell via our journals. We can use vintage ephemera, whether it's real or faux vintage ephemera, and allow us to treasure those mementos and keepsakes from history, rather than just let them lie forgotten in an attic somewhere where they never see the light of day. Instead, these keepsakes, these mementos, these pieces of treasure from the past can then be cherished for years to come by many different people through our junk journals. And finally, I couldn't possibly talk about why I love junk journals so much without also talking about the junk journal community. Everyone who I have met through junk journals, either in passing or have really developed a connection with, this community is so friendly and so welcoming, I cannot tell you. I've been part of many online communities over the years, through blogging and owning a business, and through all of the interests that I have in life. But honestly, the junk journal community is the most friendly and welcoming ones I think I've ever come across. When I first discovered junk journals, all those many years ago now, I immediately noticed just how many people there were that were encouraging others. They were answering questions, they were giving compliments about things that people had made. They were thanking others when they in turn received a compliment. Now, in a world where we can be anything, being kind is one of the most important things we can be. And honestly, I have to say that the junk journal community is doing exactly that. And it is an honour to be a part of it and to have been welcomed into this community, allowing me to do these videos, practice this craft with people around me who I have honestly developed friendships with and connections with, is a prize that I could never have imagined. Now, that was my love letter to junk journals. I could probably go on for many hours talking about all the reasons why I love them, but I won't. I did want to keep these podcast episodes short and sweet and really talking about the topics that are close to my heart. But I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear what are the reasons why you love junk journals or crafting. Why do you keep doing it? I would love for you to let me know in the comments so that we can start a discussion and so that we can be sharing these thoughts with others, either through writing in the comments or sharing the podcast and getting people talking about this topic. As I said, when I first thought about doing these podcast episodes, I knew that I absolutely had to have an episode all about junk journals. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to write a love letter to them and speak it through the microphone. That's been my podcast episode for this week. I hope that you're enjoying these. And I'll be back next week, as I said, with a topic about Japan and wabi-sabi and why it has a connection to junk journals and everything that we're doing. Until next time then, I'll say goodbye for now.